Welcome to Cybersecurity Awareness TV, episode number 401, recorded July 23rd, 2022. My name is Mac Jackson Jr. I am a cybersecurity consultant and researcher. If this is the first time you have seen our show here on WWDBTV, I discuss cybersecurity awareness, news, interviews with leading industry experts, and tips that you could use to protect yourselves from the fastest growing crimes of the 21st century. And that's cyber crimes, folks. Cybercrimes. I would like to thank all of our viewers who have been a part of our show here on WWDBTV and from our previous episodes from the last 8 years. We provide information on cybersecurity awareness that can help you protect yourself and your business from these definitely cyber threats. If you'd like to find out more about what we do here on Cybersecurity Awareness TV, you go to my website at macjacksonjr.com. It's macjacksonjr.com. And again, I'm going to thank our viewers from all around the world, from Australia, New Zealand, over in Egypt, Europe, and Nigeria, in London, England. Thank you very much for being part of our show and with your emails and your comments. We definitely appreciate it, and we look forward to bringing you content and information that you can use. Now, remember, folks, when you see us on social media, Cybersecurity Awareness TV, remember to share, like, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you'll be in contact with any other episodes and news that we come up with here on Cybersecurity Awareness TV. Again, we are also on the Roku network under WWDBTV, Roku streaming for our show as well. Now, if you really want to help us out, folks, you can also be a part of our community by being a patriot on our Patreon channel, and it's patreon.com/MacJacksonJr., where you can receive information on cybersecurity awareness tips and techniques, also information on our latest shows, and you'll be able to get consulting advice as well. So definitely join us there, folks, as well. In today's episode, in our first segment, we're going to talk about an update to the global cyber war that's going on, especially the war that's going on overseas between Russia and the Ukraine. There's some interesting information that has been developing for that, and we want to report that to you here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV. In our second segment, we're going to talk about your smartphone. Is your smartphone spying on you? We're going to talk about that too. Is your smartphone spying on you? Definitely stay tuned for that. And of course, as we do it every week, we talk about weekly tips on cybersecurity awareness protection that you can use to protect yourselves from these cyber threats. But first, folks, in our cybersecurity news, update on the global cyber war. Experts say that cyber attacks are on the increase, and as been going on overseas, there is a war going on between Russia and the Ukraine. That war is continuing since last February, and it has grown in some areas from the ground footage that's shown there's lots of carnage that's happened on the Ukrainian side and the Russian side. But however, folks, there's also a huge increase in the cyber threats that have been going on, because it is cheaper than sending over bombs. It's cheaper to send malware and cyber attacks over to Western states. The Russians have engaged in this type of technique using a denial of service and phishing campaigns in order to get access to Western computer systems and shut them down, power, water, and all sorts of infrastructure. This campaign has been increasing from the Russians and other foreign allies as well on the Russian side, and the U.S. with the Western governments are working on countermeasures and have worked on defense mechanisms to strike back, and have been successful in several areas of doing that as well. Now, despite the overwhelming evidence of all of these Russian attacks, Russia still denies that they are doing anything wrong when it comes to cyber attacks. The Kremlin has reported that it is difficult for the Western organizations to prove that the Kremlin had anything to do with these types of cyber attacks. However, the evidence is still there by cybersecurity experts from around the world. The threat actors globally, including Russia and all other nation states, have continuously tried to bombard the U.S. and other Western societies with their different types of cyber attacks. The U.S. has stated that businesses and organizations must work together with governmental entities to communicate on these types of cyber threats and counter-strike back with cyber software weaponry that we have on our side. Here is a clip that's from Cybersecurity Awareness TV that our research team has come up discussing this international threat of the cyber attacks coming over from Russia. This clip is from CNBC International. Check this out.
When Russia began amassing troops on Ukraine's border in late 2021, many security experts predicted a similar buildup of Russian hackers along the ideological boundaries of cyberspace, ready to match any physical assault with an equally damaging virtual attack. The country has proven itself a leading offensive cyberpower, whether that be by interfering in and influencing foreign elections, or by mounting cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, such as air traffic control systems and water treatment facilities. Yet months into Moscow's brutal military invasion, a cyber war of similar consequence has yet to materialize. Essentially, Ukraine's digital defense has proved as determined as its physical one.
Before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russia was harassing Ukraine relentlessly in cyberspace.
Still, the risks of cyber war have not gone away. As the world becomes increasingly reliant on technology across all walks of life, the potential for cyber warfare to wreak havoc on society remains, whether in this conflict or the next. So what exactly could a cyber war entail, and how prepared are we?
For the first time in human history, it's possible to inflict large-scale harm on another country from a different country without anybody ever setting foot on the territory of that country.
Cyber warfare can be broadly defined as an act of aggression conducted through a digital network by state-sponsored actors. The targets can be military or civilian, but the end goal is to coerce a sovereign state to bend to the actor's will. This is different from cyber terrorism, which is typically conducted by independent actors.
It's now more than ever critical that we are preparing for such events.
Security experts have been raising the alarm on such cyber risks for decades. Back in 2012, then US Defense Secretary Leon Panetta warned the country was facing a potential cyber Pearl Harbor, with the national power grid, transportation, financial network, and government having grown increasingly vulnerable to foreign hackers. Britain considered the risk so significant that in 2016, GCHQ, the country's Electronic Intelligence and Security Agency, launched a unit specifically designed to deal with cyber threats. Kieran Martin was the founding CEO of GCHQ's National Cybersecurity Centre and is now a professor at the University of Oxford's Blavatnik School of Government. He explained more.
There was this sort of Hollywood version of cyber, that everything was connected to everything else. That's not really the way cyber operations work, but there are really serious, quite pernicious and nasty social and economic threats from cyberspace, and we need to be realistic about telling people what they are.
Such events are not unheard of. Already, there have been several serious cyber attacks with wide-reaching consequences, both intended and otherwise. In 2010, Iran's nuclear facilities were severely disrupted by a malicious computer worm known as Stuxnet, in the first known example of a digital weapon causing physical damage. Then, in 2017, a mock ransomware attack known as NotPetya brought Ukrainian businesses to their knees, damaging systems and deleting data with major knock-on effects internationally.
An accounting organization in Ukraine was attacked and MERS had to suffer a massive fallout as a consequence, even though they were not the target. So the challenge with the cyber realm is that you don't necessarily need to be the target, you can be collateral damage.
And roughly 1 hour before Russia invaded Ukraine, internet access in Ukraine and swathes of Europe was crippled after a cyber attack against US satellite communications provider, Viasat. The outage affected the Ukrainian military's ability to communicate with its frontline troops, a move the West has blamed on Russia. In the first 4 months of 2022, Russian hackers launched more than 200 cyber attacks against Ukraine, targeting government agencies and private companies, according to analysis from Microsoft. The report noted that the cyber attacks have also sought to disrupt people's access to reliable information and critical life services on which civilians depend. However, the intensity of these attacks by Russia in the cyber realm have surprised experts who are anticipating more. Is it a lack of ability from the Russian side, or do you think it's just so fundamental to the fact that cyber war doesn't actually have the overall impact that maybe traditional military warfare has?
So there are various theories. Firstly, there was the quick victory theory. It is believed they thought if they were going to take the whole of Ukraine in 3 or 4 days, why would you devastate it digitally when you're going to be ruling it? Perhaps at the almost other end of the spectrum of theories, some of the Russian military equipment seems to have been so poor that Russian infantry themselves are using GPS, they're using WhatsApp to communicate. So if you take out the Ukrainian internet infrastructure, then Russian soldiers can't use it. There is, of course, then, and I think there is definitely something in this, that when you're in a period of high tension short of war, cyber is a very, very useful tool. When you're actually at war and you can send bomber planes in and so forth, then actually the complexity and time and resources of a cyber operation, it becomes less useful.
That doesn't mean the risks of cyber conflict have faded, however.
No special rules apply in cyber, so if Russia is going to do aggressive behavior, it could do it in cyberspace. I think what is potentially even more concerning is there is a lot of noisy activity in cyberspace at the moment between Russia and Ukraine. But the way the network world works means you cannot cauterize that activity necessarily between Russia and Ukraine.
Physical attacks, just by nature, can be contained a bit. You know where you're attacking, you can control it to a certain degree. Unfortunately, that's not the case when it comes to cyber attacks.
As a result, authorities are now calling for greater efforts to help prevent or at least prepare for potential cyber attacks. That includes encouraging governments and businesses to work more closely together to understand their cybersecurity vulnerabilities.
One part of it is ensuring the resilience of government establishments. I think the other and more important priority also is to ensure how are they supporting the private sector in this endeavor. Public-private cooperation is the key to all of this.
In response to rising Russian cyber risks, the US passed a new law in March 2022, requiring owners and operators of critical infrastructure to report cyber incidents within 72 hours and ransomware payments within 24 hours. A year earlier, Russia-based cybercriminals targeted the US's largest fuel pipeline. The Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack resulted in widespread energy shortages and a regional state of emergency. President Joe Biden said in a statement, Russia could conduct malicious cyber activity against the United States, including as a response to the unprecedented economic costs we've imposed. At the same time, authorities are trying to determine the legal boundaries of cyberspace. In 2021, President Biden gave President Putin a list of 16 critical sectors he said should be off-limits to cyber attacks. Those included telecommunications, food, energy, and healthcare. It follows continued calls from Western policymakers to establish some form of global cyber treaty, outlining the red lines of cyber warfare. Similar to the Geneva Convention, it could, for example, draw virtual no-fly zones around hospitals, making any life-threatening attack on medical facilities a war crime. The jury is out on how much buy-in such an agreement would get in a world currently so at odds.
I'd be cautious about thinking there's some grand treaty coming that's going to take care of this problem. In actual fact, what I think seems more likely at the moment is that thanks to the rise of China and its technological base, the technological world is splitting into two technospheres, one led by the United States and its allies, one led by China. And if that trend continues, as it looks likely to, I think what you might find is a set of sort of rules and standards in the US-led model and a different set of standards in the China model, and then a bunch of competition for influence afterwards.
Still, there are some limitations to cyberspace, which experts say offer hope that a cyber conflict, if it were to occur, might not be as catastrophic as once feared.
We do have to understand this problem. It is about computer code. There's serious harm you can do with it, but it's pretty hard actually to blow up the world via computer code. There are technical limitations, there are scientific limitations on what can be done. We have a chance to improve the security of technology. We can see what's coming. We can have that discussion, we can get ahead of it. So we could have a safer digital environment in 10 years' time than we have now.
Folks, like we always say here on Cybersecurity Awareness TV, hashtag stay cyber woke. The cyber threats that are going on out there, folks, relating to this Russian attack can be very devastating to the Ukrainian government and the Ukrainian people. However, what we're doing right now in the US with our cybersecurity team is to collaborate with businesses and formulate strategies and offensive tactics that we have used here in the homeland to strike back against these Russians and other nations as well that are trying to attack our infrastructure here in the US. So what does this mean to you? What can you do? Well, things that you could do, folks, is stay informed and stay curious, right? What I mean by curious is to understand what's going on out there and be aware with your smartphone devices, with your laptops, your desktops, and understand that these threats can affect you. For example, social engineering, phishing attacks that you can get. Phishing attacks, and what this means, folks, is you're getting emails sent to you from a source that is non-related to your business, and you're clicking on a website that you have never heard of before. Now, we've heard for years not to do this, so now the bad guys know that more and more Americans are becoming informed of these types of techniques, and they're using other means of trying to get your information. For example, your smartphone, sending you SMS messages, text messages with a link to click on, infecting your smart device. Then in turn, you take your smart device into work that can affect your desktop or laptop. These are just some of the techniques that these nation states have used to try to compromise and acquire control over your personal information and your data. We must stay vigilant and we must stay aware, folks, of these sort of things as well. Again, folks, hashtag stay cyber woke. We'll be right back here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV after these messages. Hello, folks. This is Mac Jackson Jr. from Vanderson Cyber Group. The problem with businesses today is that they are affected by cyber attacks from around the world, but companies are not sure of what to do. Normally, they are reactive instead of proactive. But folks, cyber attacks can affect your bottom line, and it will affect you financially, legally, and your business reputation. Here at Vanderson Cyber Group, we can help you develop a policy by training your employees on what to do if they are involved in a cyber attack and how to mitigate it and fight against it. Folks, we call it here hashtag stay cyber woke. And that's Vanderson Cyber Group here in Las Vegas and around the world. You can reach me, folks, at VandersonCyberGroup.com or my website, MacJacksonJr.com as well. Here locally, 702-868-0808. Give us a call today, folks. We must fight back. Hi folks, welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. In this segment, we titled it, Is Your Phone Spying on You? What does this mean? Is your phone spying on you? Well folks, here at Cybersecurity Awareness TV, we have provided you stories on protecting your personal identifiable information called PII, right? Which is personal identifiable information. One of the key items in your identity identifying you that we've always warned everybody about and stay aware of is not to give out your social security number to anyone that you don't know, a stranger, or even someone that you do know. You really want to be able to have control of that, of why do they need your social security number? Because a lot of databases from around the world, your social security number connects to you. It can be used to get financial information or to control your personal data. Well, folks, what about your phone number? Well, your phone number is something you have and you've had for years, especially if you're from the generation that had landlines back in the day. We've had our phone numbers for generations. Well, databases also have a field of data collection, includes a line item for the phone, home phone or your cell phone. And lots of times now these are the same thing, home phone and cell number are the same number. But that number, folks, connects to you. Databases from around the world have this number that connects to you that could link them to other information about you. Remember folks, if you listen to my shows over the last few years, I've talked about this whole jigsaw puzzle that describes you, and every piece of this puzzle paints a portrait of you with your personal information. Each piece of it would be your personal information. There could be a piece of the puzzle resembling your phone number, another piece your social security number, your address, and that when it's all put together with your identity, the bad guys, the threat actors will then take that puzzle, in my analogy here, and then sell it and use it to try to exploit your personal information with other hackers or what other criminals from around the world and other scammers as well. So it's important that we eliminate this information that's out into the public about us. And the phone could be a way of doing it. Now that's one of the stories. Now the other story I have for you that there are social media apps as well that are used to track your information, your data. I'm sure, folks, you guys have heard about these things before, that your information is being tracked by these social media companies. Folks, there are two sides to this. There's a legal side and there's an illegal side. Now, the legal side we're all used to, and we really don't like it, but we put up with it. And that's the marketeers and advertisers, right? They have your information there, and where they make their money is that they will sell your jigsaw puzzle legally to other marketeers in order to get you to buy products and services. Now, in our society, we have accepted that to be of a norm, and we allow it up to a certain point that these marketeers can have our information and sell it. However, there's a flip side of that, folks, that the bad guys, the cyber criminals, the scammers, the fraudsters, that pool of entities, if you would, are doing the same thing. They have your jigsaw puzzle that they are trying to buy and sell your data between each other, and are trying to connect the dots, to connect the pieces of the puzzle. They may have half of your information from one criminal, and another database may have your other half of your information, and the two can tie together by using a common key, and it could be the phone number. That phone number could be used to do this. That's why it's imperative, folks, that you make sure that you look at these different apps on your phone and make sure that you take care of them. And we'll talk about that in our third segment. But in this segment, I want to emphasize the whole idea of your phone can be monitoring you and following you. One of the things that we have found out here in our research is, and you probably know this as well, your cell phone that you use when you are traveling is triangulated using satellites. Within the satellites, you can be located within up to, in some situations, we've understand up to 100 feet within a triangulation of the satellite. Now, this is good and bad. That means the they, which we've just talked about, the good and the bad groups of people, can triangulate and find out where you are. And we want to mitigate this, folks, mitigate it. We want to make it less likely or harder for your information to be had or found, and we'll talk about that. Also, one more note I want to put about our third segment to get you guys ready for it. Our third segment, we're going to talk about one of my favorite things in technology, and that's EV, electric vehicles, how the new paradigm shift is changing over from the gas vehicles over to electric vehicles. And on these electric vehicles, cybersecurity will be a topic of concern, and your movements can be tracked and traced as well. But first, we talked about the whole idea of your phone number being a form of a new way of locating you, locating your personal identifiable information, and what you could do to protect yourself from it. I have a story here that I've researched on a warning that the FBI has talked about one of our nation states spying on us and using our phones as one of the vehicles, if you would, to spy on our personal identifiable information and our day-to-day activities. Here's a story that I'd like to show you from NBC News on the warning that the FBI has told us about one of our allies from China, folks. Check out this video.
Tonight, an unprecedented warning from the world's top intelligence agencies. In their first ever joint speech, FBI Director Chris Wray and his British counterpart, MI5 Director Ken McCullum, underscored what they say are growing threats, spying, hacking, and other covert activity from China.
We consistently see that it's the Chinese government that poses the biggest long-term threat to our economic and national security.
The widespread Western assumption that growing prosperity within China and increasing connectivity with the West would automatically lead to greater political freedom has, I'm afraid, been shown to be plain wrong.
As the U.S. heightens warnings about China, MI5 is now saying its efforts to investigate China's intelligence activities have grown sevenfold since just 2018. Plus, the intelligence agencies saying China is making moves to protect its own economy on another front, to guard against possible future financial sanctions from the West. After Russia invaded Ukraine, sanctions have cost billions of dollars globally. But even more Western businesses have deep roots in China. The FBI director warning a possible invasion of Taiwan and the economic ripple effects could be far more costly and far more dangerous.
The Chinese government is set on stealing your technology, whatever it is that makes your industry tick, and using it to undercut your business and dominate your market. And they're set on using every tool at their disposal to do it.
And regulators say China may already have a secret weapon, your phone. Last week, an FCC commissioner warned that TikTok is feeding sensitive user data from its app directly to Beijing.
It's a really popular app. Millions of people are using it. But really, that's just the sheep's clothing. Underneath the data that it's pulling, it really functions as a sophisticated surveillance tool.
He demanded in a letter to Apple and Google that they stop offering the massively popular video app altogether. So far, neither has pulled the app. TikTok told NBC News, quote, engineers in locations outside of the U.S., including China, can be granted access to U.S. user data on an as-needed basis under strict controls. China has not responded to the joint press conference, but has previously denied espionage tactics. For example, in January, China's foreign ministry denying allegations of a spy exerting influence in British Parliament, saying, quote, China has always adhered to the principle of non-interference in other countries' internal affairs, and that certain people may have watched too many 007 movies. But the U.S. and U.K. agencies coming together against this perceived threat.
Together, we're an awfully formidable team.
All right, Stephen Romo joins us now from our studio in New York. A lot of concerning warnings about activities from the Chinese government, but the TikTok warning probably stands out to many people. Do we know if anything's being done to protect user data?
Yeah, of course, TikTok is a wildly popular app, Tom, but many people have been raising this alarm for a while, a couple of years now. Senators Mark Warner and Marco Rubio are calling on the Federal Trade Commission to investigate that app as well, saying they fear TikTok is just not being honest with how it uses private user data. TikTok responded to the senators just last week, acknowledging China-based employees do have access to U.S. user data in what they said was a limited capacity, but the company says it has never shared U.S. user data with the Chinese government.
Well, folks, we must all, again, like we've said in the show for years, we must stay vigilant, stay aware, and protect ourselves and our public infrastructure from these types of cyber attacks. And this is a good way to doing it, by you looking at shows like this, like my show and from other cybersecurity experts from around the world, and sharing this information with people that you know. It's important, folks, that we do this. Like you always say, folks, remember, hashtag stay cyber woke. We'll be back after these messages. Hi, folks. I would like to welcome Ben Bowie from MyNiceTie.com as one of our newest sponsors for Cybersecurity Awareness TV. At MyNiceTie.com, they provide and are committed to providing classy neckties for the business community. At MyNiceTie.com, their motto is wise up, suit up, and stand up. You can find nice ties like the one I'm wearing now at MyNiceTies.com. Hi folks, welcome back to Cybersecurity Awareness TV. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr. In this segment, we call it Cybersecurity Tips that you could use to protect yourselves from these types of cyber attacks. According to FBI, cyber criminals using social media, it's on the rise, especially with social media apps, folks, like TikTok. And yes, I'm going to say like TikTok, folks. I know I have lots of friends out there in the social media world, and their children and their kids are using TikTok as well as adults using TikTok, and they're making content videos, and they want to be internet influencers online because yes, there can be a lot of money to be made. But again, folks, there are fraudsters out there that are looking to take advantage of you and to exploit you and your children by using apps like TikTok. And evidence of coming out showing that apps like TikTok definitely are using information that is gathering about you as an individual and putting in a database and using analytics and data mining, creating fake videos, right? And which we have seen and talked about in the show as well. So it's important that we mitigate these things. And one of the best ways to do it, like we said before, is to stay aware, just like we talked about in our previous segment. So your phone number, what can you do to protect yourself and your phone number in the social media and the world of information? Well, let's start out by just reviewing real quickly here, and we talked about this on our show, about data and information, folks. We're in a society right now where information is the new currency. Information about you is worth money, it's very, very valuable. And people will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for information about you because you have marketeers. Remember, I talked earlier in earlier segments that are good guys that want to market to you on products and services that you may need for your health, for your lifestyle. That's a good thing. However, they can become annoying as well, right? By trying to contact you using telemarketing techniques to get you to buy things that you don't want it to, have anything to do with until you want it. Then you want to have this information available to you, right? Okay, there are laws and regulations that our legislators are and have created to protect the consumer from these types of telemarketers. We understand that. But we have the bad guys too on the other side that are using this information, that are trying to scam you, exploit from you as well. Use the same techniques that the good guys use in trying to maneuver themselves around the law to exploit your information and your data. And we must protect ourselves from them. But how do you do that with your single phone number? Well, one of the things that you could do is to have a separate phone number and a separate email for different types of areas that you are in contact with. For example, if you're looking for, let's say, a landscaper to do some work around your house, and you want to have them give you a quote on landscaping or remodeling or any sort of contracting work, let's say, that you're looking for, redo your bathroom, anything like that. Rather than giving out your home phone number, I suggest using a VoIP called VoIP, right? Voice over Internet Protocol. In other words, it's a Wi-Fi number that can be connected to your phone, but it's a Wi-Fi number, and you give out that number to the salesperson or the other stranger entity, not someone close to you. Again, everyone that's close to you, yes, we all want to give them our personal phone numbers for family and people who are close to us. But people who are strangers or people who are associates that we really don't have much contact with, give them this other number. You could do that as well as give them a pseudo, and notice that term pseudo, email address as well. Now, those emails that you will get bombarded with will be sent to this other email address. You'll get these phone calls that are sent to another phone number with another voicemail and another transcription. We can view it and see it. That's totally separate from your personal information. In this way, you are limiting your personal data into the world of the internet, online, where you're in all these different databases that you're connected to. The only people who should have your information are people that you love and care about, let's just say, okay? So that is one of the ways that we would suggest here to show how you can protect yourself from this. There's talk of having your phone with a SIM burner put in there, but that's a little more difficult for people to understand how that works. So I'm just basically giving you a simple way to do this, and that's basically to use a Wi-Fi phone number and a Wi-Fi email account. Now, there is a company here that I'd like to, if you'd like to check out, and full disclosure, they're not at all one of my sponsors. It's a company I've researched and taken a look at, and they're offering a really good piece of information on how to protect your privacy online. And the company's called MySudo, that's MySudo, mysudo.com. And what happens is you could have several different phone numbers connected to your smartphone. That's right. You could have several different phone numbers. We're all used to having hundreds of apps on our phone. Well, this particular app can have multiple phone numbers. So when someone calls you, could be someone from your, again, like a landscaper or a realtor. There we go, there's another one, a realtor that's calling you, or any one of these different companies that you have gone online. Here's a good example. You've gone online, you saw a product or services that you're interested in, and you fill out this information, this form online. You give your name, your address, right? And you're given your phone number and an email address. I'm suggesting using your pseudo email address and a pseudo phone number, not your personal one, for this information. Now you're on a protected email and protected phone number that the marketeers of the company you're filling out the form with online can't sell your data, or they can sell your data to someone else, sure, but it's not going to affect your personal stuff. And by having them on this actual pseudo database of phone number, it's easy just to delete the phone number, delete the email, and you're done, right? Email's deleted, phone number's deleted, you can generate a new phone number or generate a new email, and it doesn't affect your personal stuff. It's harder for us to go in and try to delete your Google account that you've had for over a decade or so, right? Or your Yahoo account. Remember all the hacks that went on with Yahoo a few years ago? Well, this is a way that you can put your emails and phone numbers over into a different email and phone number account and separate them. You have some privacy for it. So that's one of the things I want to talk about. The other one was electric vehicles, folks. All of you know that I'm a fan very much of electric vehicles, and I followed Tesla for years, and I'm still researching other manufacturers that are out there. There's tons of them right now that are entering the whole electric vehicle market. Manufacturers have stated, and even cybersecurity experts like myself have stated, that this year, 2022, will be the year of the paradigm switch or change from the ICE vehicles, internal combustion engine, over to EVs, electric vehicles. And this year will show a surge in all these manufacturers coming out with these new brands. However, when you go to charge your vehicle, there are charging stations that you'd go to charge your vehicle. And a lot of these charging stations, folks, do not accept credit cards. Now, this is interesting. So you go to charge up your electric vehicle, there's no credit card there. What they're using is your phone. You have to use your phone. So now your phone, which we talked about earlier, spying on you, can triangulate where you went to, which EV location you used to charge up your electric vehicle, how much energy that you used, and how long it took you to get there. Now, most electric vehicles have Wi-Fi updates they do online or through the air to update your vehicle when it comes to new updates. So now the systems can talk to your vehicle to find out where you've gone, how long you've driven, and that information. So what I'm saying, folks, is that remember my other segments I talk about, this jigsaw puzzle of information about you being developed? This is an example of a piece of this jigsaw puzzle about you. How long you traveled, where you traveled to, where did you get your car energized from? Was there a restaurant next door? If there was a restaurant, what did that restaurant sell? Maybe you want a coupon next week to go back to that restaurant again. All these things, it's called data mining and data gathering about individuals. So my point of all this is mitigation, folks, awareness, letting you know where your data is. It's very, very important. So what would be the best means if you have an electric vehicle? My thoughts, best ways to keep your vehicle charged to have a charging station, a 210 charging station at your home, and not use these machines. But there's times that we have to use this. And again, folks, looking at the difference between the ICE machine, an ICE vehicle versus electric vehicle. When you go to a gas station to put gas in your car, you could pay by cash. To put gas in, takes you 2-3 minutes. You could pay by credit card. Still could be watched. You could use a credit card or a debit card, but you could still do it with less intrusive of your privacy. Using some of these charging stations, the ones who do not accept credit cards, and I don't think there's any of them out there that will take cash, your information can be monitored and tracked. So what you need to do is protect yourself and just be aware. These are some things that are happening. I'm very excited about the electric car industry, and I'm looking to obtain an electric vehicle here very soon. I definitely will be telling all my viewers of our show when I do make that selection of electric vehicle and share it with you guys, my excitement with you, with my audience. But it's very important that you stay aware and informed. Now again, I will go over a couple more things that we talk about every week on this show, and that is protecting your passwords, folks. And again, folks, make sure you change your passwords all the time. I'm seeing an increase or a rise in my friends and family emails account on social media becoming hacked, from Facebook to Instagram. All of it that hackers have exploited their passwords and trying to coerce other people to join a fake page or trying to get their information as well. So best ways to do this, folks, is always to change your password and to use multi-factor authentication. As of today, this is the best way we have to mitigate this, is use multi-factor authentication, which means that when you log into a website, you will be given a code. That code will show up on your phone. You will then take this code and enter it into the computer to give you access, or you'll use your thumbprint on the phone, giving you access to the website that you're visiting. But definitely check out multi-factor authentication. Also, again, folks, I like to emphasize the name of the website about your pseudo identity that you can use for this phone number and your email address. It's called MySudo, MySudo. And if you have any questions about this, definitely give me a call or go to my website at MacJacksonJr.com to find out more. That's all we have for you this week, folks. We hope we've packed with information that you can use today. Remember to tell a friend what you learned here about cybersecurity. If your organization needs to have any training, check out my company, Vanderson Cyber Group, for information about how to improve your cybersecurity posture in your organization, especially for regulations and compliance issues. Again, folks, you guys have a great weekend. Again, my name is Mac Jackson Jr. We will see you next week. Thank you.